I forced you to see him for a reason, my mom squealed. When I realized the horrific lie behind my brother's sudden return, I completely unraveled. 12 years of suppressed trauma, rage, and panic at being forced to face my abuser again unleashed on both of them at that restaurant. We're done. My brother Ash was 7 years older than me. He had a lot of problems, serious anger issues. I still have memories of him physically attacking me and my parents. But when he wasn't flipping out, he was the best brother in the world. We'd play video games until 3 a.m. I loved him, despite the bruises. When I was 9, he went to his dad's house and just never came back. I spent years hoping he'd return. Then when I was 13, he suddenly moved back in. I was so excited. We spent the whole summer hanging out like old times. But it didn't last. One day, I heard screaming. My brother stormed out of the house, and he disappeared again. That second abandonment ruined my mom, and it ruined me. Years passed. I saw him once at my high school graduation. We made eye contact. He recognized me, but he just turned around and walked away. I found out later he had blocked me on everything. That day, my pain turned into cold resentment. I decided that if he ever tried to come back, I'd never let him in. For my own sake.
Last Friday, my mom called me. She said we needed to talk. When I got home, she told me Ash had texted her. Apparently, he's married now, has a kid, and went through therapy. He said he was ready to try again. My mom was glowing. She told me we were all meeting him for lunch next weekend. I told her, I'm happy for you, but I'm not going. She was shocked. I explained that I haven't healed from the trauma he caused. I cried, she cried, but my mind was made up. Later that night, both my parents confronted me. They called me bitter and said I was holding a grudge. I lost it. I told them, as far as I'm concerned, Ash is dead to me. He's never getting my forgiveness. My dad started yelling. My mom was sobbing. I pointed at her and said, see, he isn't even back in our lives yet, and we're already fighting like this. I went to my room and cried into my pillow.
The next day, I asked my mom what their final fight years ago was even about. She finally told me. Apparently, Ash demanded to live at home rent-free indefinitely while in college. When my dad said no, Ash harassed them with toxic texts and left. My mom begged me to come to the lunch just for closure. She said he's not 19 anymore. I finally agreed, but with strict conditions. We meet in public, and I drive my own car so I can leave whenever I want. Saturday came. I almost backed out at the last second, but I walked into the restaurant. Ash was already there with my parents. I walked over, and Ash looked at me like he'd seen a ghost. His first words weren't, I'm sorry. They were, what are you doing here? My mom started panicking. It turns out Ash had specifically asked her not to invite me. They had been emailing for months, and he told her he wasn't ready to face me yet. My mom had lied to both of us. She tricked me into coming and tricked him into seeing me. I exploded. I stormed out of the restaurant. My dad followed me, begging me to listen, and then Ash came outside too. I told him to stay away. He apologized for my mom's behavior and turned to go back inside, but I couldn't let it go. Why didn't you want me here? I demanded. He looked at me and said, I wasn't ready to face my biggest regret. That made me even angrier. I unleashed years of trauma right there in the parking pool. I told him he had no right to regret anything when he was the one who blocked me while I was texting a dead number for years. He just stood there, said, I'm sorry, and went back inside. My mom started blowing up my phone, calling me selfish. She said she didn't raise a child to walk away. I texted her back. You're right. You raised two. You forced me to face the person who gave me nightmares, and you did it behind my back. A few days later, Ash emailed me. It was long. He explained his side, sent old photos of us, and said he had no idea how badly he had hurt me. He said he misses me, but we aren't ready to talk. I didn't respond. I don't think I ever will. I've blocked my parents, I moved out, and I'm staying with my boyfriend until I graduate. My life fell apart over a single lunch. Somehow, after all these years, Ash managed to ruin my life one more time, with my mother's help.
My grandfather was the only person who truly cared about me. When he passed away 7 years ago, I was 18 and struggling to pay for community college. My father sat me down after the funeral with a somber face. He told me that Grandpa had suffered some bad investments at the end and left almost nothing. He said the small amount that was left was donated to a local dog shelter because Grandpa wanted to do one last good deed. I believed him. I spent the next 7 years living in tiny, moldy apartments, eating ramen, and working 60-hour weeks at a warehouse to pay off my student loans. My dad, meanwhile, started taking luxury vacations and bought a second property at the lake. He told me he got lucky with crypto. Last month, my dad went on a cruise and asked me to check on his house. While looking for a flashlight in the attic, I tripped over an old, heavy metal box hidden under some insulation. It was locked. I found the key in a nearby desk drawer. Inside wasn't crypto info. It was my grandfather's real, notarized will. He hadn't left his money to a dog shelter. He had left me a trust fund of $250,000 and the deed to the lake house I thought my dad bought. The will specifically stated the money was to be released to me on my 21st birthday to pay for my education and a home. I found bank statements too. My dad had been forging my signature for 7 years to withdraw the interest and the principal. He used my money to pay for his luxury lifestyle while I was literally starving and selling my blood plasma to pay for textbooks in college. When he came back from his cruise, I was waiting for him at the kitchen table with the documents spread out. He didn't even look guilty. He laughed and said, "I raised you for 18 years. Think of that money as back pay for the food and shelter I gave you. You were a kid. You would have wasted it. I invested it in our family's comfort." I told him he had 48 hours to move his stuff out of my lake house. He called me ungrateful. My siblings, who got their college paid for by my dad, with my money I now realize, are blowing up my phone saying I'm homelessing our father. They say I have a good job now and I don't need the money like he does in his old age. I've hired the most expensive lawyer I could find. I'm not just taking the house. I'm suing him for every cent plus interest and filing a police report for identity theft and grand larceny. My dad is now facing a prison sentence and losing everything. My family says I'm destroying the family tree over a past mistake. Am I the asshole?
I've spent the last 4 years working 2 jobs and saving every single penny for my dream wedding. My fiance, Mark, and I wanted something small but perfect. We had $45,000 in a high-yield savings account. My family knew about this fund, and that was my biggest mistake. My younger sister, Sarah, has always been the golden child. She's 24, never held a job for more than 3 months, and my parents always bail her out. 2 weeks before our wedding, the nightmare started. My mom called me at 2 a.m., screaming and crying. She said Sarah had been in a horrific car accident. She told me Sarah was in the ICU with a crushed pelvis and internal bleeding, and they needed $50,000 for an immediate life-saving surgery because the insurance had a glitch. I didn't even think. I was shaking. I logged into my bank app and transferred almost everything we had, $40,000, to my mom's account. I told Mark, and though he was devastated about the wedding, he supported me because family comes first. We canceled the venue, the catering, everything. We lost thousands in non-refundable deposits. I spent 3 days straight crying, praying for Sarah. On the 4th day, I couldn't get a hold of my mom. I drove 3 hours to their house to bring clothes to the hospital. When I pulled into the driveway, I saw something that made my heart stop. There was a brand new white Audi sitting there with a giant red bow on it. I walked into the backyard, and there was Sarah. She wasn't in a cast. She wasn't in pain. She was lying on a sun lounger by the pool, sipping a margarita and showing off her new designer handbag to her friends. My mom was right there, laughing. I lost it. I started screaming. My mom stood up and had the nerve to say, "Calm down. Sarah was depressed because she didn't have a reliable car for job interviews. We knew you wouldn't give her the money for a car, so we had to make it a life or death situation so you'd do the right thing. You're getting married anyway. You don't need a party as much as she needs a future." I felt the blood go cold in my veins. I didn't argue. I went back to my car, called my bank to report a fraudulent transfer, and then I called the police. Since my mom had used my name on a gift letter to clear the bank's flags, I told the cops she forged my signature. Now the wedding is off, Mark is furious, and my entire extended family is calling me a cold-hearted monster for trying to send my own mother to jail over just some money. But to me, my mother and sister died that day in the backyard. Am I the asshole for not dropping the charges?